Yeah, without further ado, here is Jeff Hewitt.
Thank you. No, I'm fine. Let's hear another great round of applause for Angela McArdle. What a phenomenal speech, laying out exactly what our policy should be and identifying why the United States, which I think we can all agree has been one of the most phenomenal experiments in freedom in the last 245 years. I want to start out with what was said Thursday. Thursday, our President Joe Biden, when he said, this is not about freedom, when he's going to go ahead and he's going to put a mandate on all federal workers and contractors to take a vaccine. He said, this is not about freedom. I'm sorry, Mr. President. For the last 245 years, this experiment has been about nothing but freedom. And when you say that, that's a chill. That brings a chill to most people out here. Angela said some very good things about two different wars. We've had the war on terrorism and we've got the war now on a germ. I remember when I was a kid, they had a great bumper sticker that said, "Stamp out violence." Stamp out violence. There's a little bit of hypocrisy in that. But I want you to tell you that me, as a libertarian, I've always been for a very, very strong defense. And you know what? Those arms makers and those defense contractors will always have a job with a strong America, because there are bad actors that would like to come in and change us over to a different political ideology or whatever. But there's a big difference than what happened on December 7th, 1941. So I would like to ask, does anybody know when the last Congressional Declaration of War was done in the United States? I'm going to tell you what year it was. It was 1942, and it was against the countries of Romania, Hungary, and Bulgaria. That is the last Congressional Declaration of War in our country. Now that's a year later, after Pearl Harbor, and right after that, we had declared war on Japan, Germany, and Italy. So we've had the Korean War, and which lost 62,000 soldiers and wounded over 150,000. We've had the Vietnam War, which lost 58,000 and wounded about 300,000. Then we've had all these other wars that didn't lose as many U.S. soldiers, but as Angela said, and when you say collateral damage, put a collage of all the faces of all the people that are collateral damage. Humanize it. You realize what we've done? Every time we lose somebody in a hospital on a respirator to COVID, it's on the evening news because they want to use fear and want to force us all to do exactly what they tell us. But if you could show the faces of all of those innocent people that were taken out by a heartless drone or a bomb coming from some airplane that, oops, we got the wrong people, then maybe we would understand what we're doing in all these other places. Getting back to, it's right there in the Constitution that there's one body. We have, our executive branch, which is the president. We have our legislative branch, which is the House of Representatives and the Senate. We have our judicial branch, the Supreme Court. It's up to Congress to determine when we go to war with someone. And like I say, all these different actions, from Yemen to Somalia to Panama to Grenada, all these actions have been done with either an authorization of use for force or not even that. And what happens is we need more people in Congress with the courage, like people like Thomas Massey, Justin Amash, Tulsi Gabbard, who come out and call out presidents, whether it's Trump, Obama, Biden, any of the last several presidents that all buy into this. We need them to go ahead and say, look, if we're going to go ahead and commit people to these fights, first of all, it has to be justified by some real threat to the United States. And not only that, it has to be your vote has to be right there on a roll call vote. Not an actual yes, aye, or nay, like so many times. They don't want to be responsible for their actions. But on Tuesday, we are going to go ahead and decide on whether the governor right here has a right to stay in for the last year of his office. Now, he has, early on during the pandemic, he came out with what was known as a scientific model for what to shut down in what counties and what businesses arbitrarily were dangerous. Oh, by the way, if he were to bring back that same tier right now, most all of California is in deep purple. The deepest we would be shut down completely. But the chance of him doing that before Tuesday is 0. Because there is one science that he's following. And it's not biology, it's not chemistry, it's not epidemiology. It's political science. Because if he knows if he did that, he would actually have 0 chance of beating the recall. So that brings to mind the fact that he probably cares about his own political future more than the health of his own constituents. We need to, at this time, get together as a group. Everybody out here has a reason for being here. We have to come out from behind wherever we've been, have the loudest voices, elect more libertarians to offices that actually have principles and don't sell those principles when it's politically expedient, like what the governor's doing right now. The reason why I got in this recall is because I found out this governor was giving my county 80% less per capita of vaccines than so many of my elderly constituents wanted. And he did that because he didn't like my county. Because back on January 9th, where you guys are sitting right now, there were 50 of us, of the 150, that came out and had a special conference 30 miles west of here to try to make this governor see the insanity of shutting down so many parts of his economy without any real harm for stemming the damage of the virus. And we sat out here. It was the last permitted protest before everything was shut down here. And I'll tell you what, the next day, on December 11th, after our 3-day conference was done, Governor Newsom raised the stay-at-home orders for the 13 counties around Sacramento. So we can do things if we show up and we do it with a loud voice. So with that, look at, hopefully we've learned with Afghanistan, when you go in there and you try to occupy a country and change its culture in 20 years, that culture's taken thousands of years to do. Oh, by the way, the British and the Russians tried the same thing. And I guess we haven't, learned from Einstein that said the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over and expecting different results. What we do need to do is when we're getting out of a place, we need to make sure that we bring our soldiers back last. And then we make sure that there's safe passage for not only all Americans, but all of those brave people that worked with us and were told that their girls could go to schools, their girls could go on and be, doctors and engineers and such. And think at how it is for them now, having had a glimpse of what they could do, half of all the population, and they will go back to the dark ages. So I hope that in the future we get this down, but that's only going to change when we elect people that have real principles and real values and never give those up, no matter what it costs. Thank you.